Time for a BMW valve cover gasket replacement. I'll be quickly walking through all the steps to complete this repair. This is the N52, specifically an 06 with the magnesium valve cover. I will be replacing that with an aluminum aftermarket, and you'll see why later in the video. It's leaking from about everywhere onto the axle and exhaust manifold, making bad smells. First, you have to disconnect the battery negative cable, then remove the cabin air filter surrounding the plastic. Next, the strut bar, and hang the wiring running over the engine out of the way. Then remove the engine cover and remove the crankcase breather at the back of the valve cover. The coils are new, but the old electrical connectors are a little fragile. The lever on the coil is supposed to connect and disconnect them, but I help them by hand. Next, remove the electrical connectors at the front of the valve cover and then the Valvetronic. Next, remove the two ground strap bolts and the coil harness. The coil harness wraps behind the valve cover connected to the fuel rail wiring, which makes this model difficult to get clearance to remove the valve cover. Newer N52s run the wire over the top so you can get more clearance. To remove the Valvetronic motor, turn the 4mm clockwise slowly until it hits resistance, which could take 10 to 20 turns. Then remove the 3 bolts, 2 on each side and 1 underneath, and turn it slowly counterclockwise while you gently pull, and it will come out easy. Next, remove the fuel rail, releasing pressure at the Schrader valve first, then pulling the inlet fuel line and unbolting and removing the rail. Newer N52s, you may be able to remove just the wiring to the injectors, which is really in the way, but not this model. Now you can finally pull all the valve cover bolts, 19 on the outside and 3 on the inside. Make sure you get those ones hiding in the back. These are aluminum, so you should replace them. You can also pull the coolant hose to the expansion tank to allow for more access if that's in the way. Now work to wiggle the valve cover free. This takes some time with the coil harness not really giving you enough clearance. Take your time trying to lift the back of the valve cover. Pull the old gasket and clean the surface. This magnesium cover is disintegrating, leaving magnesium particles. A new gasket won't seal with this degrading surface. Unfortunately, my new aluminum valve cover also had imperfections on the surface that needed cleaned prior to install. $200 or $850 for a replacement BMW. This aftermarket one should work, right? I follow BMW manuals and also found BMWRepairGuide.com very helpful. I'll leave a link in the description. Please check the steps, torque specs, and tightening sequences for your specific vehicle, as BMW did make slight changes to the N52s and this valve cover repair process. I am using a dab of blue Loctite on these bolts, which BMW wouldn't recommend, but some bolts were quite loose that I removed. I am using an OE gasket and bolts with the aftermarket valve cover. I tighten them properly with the first pass at 7 Newton meters or 5 foot-pounds, and then an additional 90 degrees following the tightening sequence. The torque wrench on a torque adapter is overkill, but it's an older wrench, so I just wanted to double check that it's calibrated properly. For tightening, it's the 3 inside bolts and then pretty much working inside out, but look up the tightening sequence yourself and confirm all the torque specs, please. Then reinstall the fuel rail. I used a little silicone spray on the O-rings. You don't want to pinch one of those, so just take your time. For the Valvetronic, install it slowly, turning the 4 millimeters clockwise, and it will pull the Valvetronic in. I recommend new gaskets for the Valvetronic and the eccentric valve sensor gasket if you aren't replacing the valve cover. Next, install the coils, ground straps, electrical connectors, and crankcase breather at the back of the valve cover. At this time, it's good to start it and check for leaks, specifically the fuel rail. Make sure the wiring is routed properly, connect the battery, and turn the key on, but don't start it. Leave the ECM run for 30 seconds to cycle the Valvetronic motor. All looking good. You just have to put the covers and plastic back on and you should be good to go. I'm planning to change the oil after a quick test drive to warm it up. I want to get any of that loose magnesium caught in the filter and then out of the system. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this was helpful.